Okay, right. Welcome back to the Gutshot podcast. We are here with Sam and, of course, backed by popular demand, our very famous and very eloquent blogger. Thank you for coming back, Syed. The focus of our attention this morning, is the UN General Assembly, in which President Trump, leveled, I guess, very interesting statements and very interesting comments about a lot of things. So let's start with you, Syed.
I would call it a blockbuster speech.
Blockbuster speech,
that
actually.
that we have never heard ever in
And
the UN General Assembly.
On the 80th anniversary of the UN General Assembly as well, right?
Yeah.
So lots to unpack, but Syed, where would you like to start?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, it was quite an interesting speech. One of a kind. I think no American president has spoken with that kind of straight from the heart, directness, very frank, and a very down to earth, over the fence kind of conversation. Not what you would have we are normally here at the United Nations, statesman kind of language and all that. He was just straight, almost off the cuff. He started off quite well. He was not very happy with the teleprompter not working, and he was stuck at the escalator. But I thought he kept referring to it throughout his speech, and a few things came out of this his speech at this assembly. The thing that my understanding, he took quite a few shots at the UN itself. The teleprompter, the escalator was part of it. He basically questioned. He asked, "What is the UN? What is the purpose of the UN? What are they doing?" Because he said they did not help him much in solving those issues.
The wars, for one.
The wars, the 7 wars that were going on. He said they didn't even call him, when he was helping to sort things out. So he expressed quite a bit of unhappiness with the United Nations, coming from a country which is traditionally the number one funder and sponsor of the UN. So it shows a major shift, a sea change in how at least Donald Trump and the Republicans want to place themselves vis-a-vis the rules-based system. The past few years, it has all been, everything has been about rules-based order. They want to follow this multinational organizations or rules or whatever in trade, in defense, in whatever. So Donald Trump is basically saying that I am not buying into that too much, because if you can criticize the United Nations, which has always been used by the US as one of the major foreign policy tools, Donald Trump basically saying that I'm not too excited about what the United Nations has been doing. You can gather that.
I just pluck out the number. Actually, in 2023, US contributed about 13 billion into funding the UN operations, and that constitute almost 22% of their budget. So here comes the contributor or the funder of your organization, and effectively telling you that you more than likely, I think, for lack of a better word, has outlived your usefulness.
Yeah, and his other, in my view, his two other main thrusts in his speech was energy, the entire spectrum of energy, green energy, fossil fuels, whatever, which he feels very strongly about, and illegal immigration. And the point that you just made, he said the UN has, in the last year, has spent about over $300 million to assist over 600,000 illegal immigrants who went into the United States, including giving them debit cards and things like that. So he was very unhappy with that. So about what you said about the US funding, I think it's going to be $300 million short. Because that's why he's very unhappy with that, you see. So this is new for a US president, for the United States government, who has been the main backer of the UN, for such a long time. So this is a parting of the ways. That's how I look at it. So the UN has to position themselves up. But then who is the UN without the US?
Well, it reminds me of the time when he took parting shots, very clear parting shots at the World Health Organization, remember, during COVID? And I think at the time the US was nearly half of the WHO's operating annual budget, right? And he did pull funding for the WHO. So if that is indeed the case here for the UN, right, what does it mean? I mean, he said a lot of things at the UN General Assembly, right? But what does his speech mean, particularly in terms of not just energy, but also in terms of how the UN spends its resources?
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
we do that first,
Yeah.
and then we go into the detail of each of the item
Yeah.
that he touched.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the institution of UN itself, right?
Yeah.
Considering what Syed just said, and I agree with him. I take that's why I take one step further, which is I said he's basically questioning the usefulness or the effectiveness of UN as an institution,
how the money is spent.
and how the money is being spent and it being useless.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? And I'm not surprised about that at all. You ask me personally, I'm in complete agreement with him. So, say, how do you see it playing out?
I think he's setting the what do you call this, the laying the ground rules on what needs to be done. He's setting the ground rules on what needs to be done. Basically now he's fired the first shot. He's saying that you're not being effective, you're spending my money, like the 300 million to fund the illegal immigrants going into the US, 600,000 of them. So basically after this, he'll be telling them how they should be spending the money and how they should be behaving. Otherwise, I think the US is going to distance themselves more from the UN, and the UN cannot survive without the US. It's his first shot across the bow of the ship, lah.
I find that actually the problem with institutions like that, as well as it's not that good a comparison, which is the EU bureaucratic parliament and their own administrative, right? Okay, it becomes an for lack of a better word, it becomes a government link entity, right? That perpetuates itself for its own administrative bloat and cushy positions, right? They really are not interested in getting things done. You know, it's a good place for member nations who are not that rich to stay in New York, at the cost of the US, if you ask me. So the question then becomes is, you really have to restructure the UN, if you ask me.
Yeah, it is. It has been a platform to keep these perpetual wars going, never coming to a solution. You can't point a finger at any conflict in the last 10 years or more, which has actually been put to an end by the UN, other than the Iraqi invasion, which was an American game.
And it's an American decision to do whatever they want to do.
So it has never really. What is the purpose of the UN? Actually, I am really a bit confused also. What do they achieve?
Yeah.
So Trump is saying it as it is.
Yeah.
Well, we always talk about how Trump runs the country like a company, right? Well, if you're spending $13 billion a year for a fifth of essentially the voting rights of this company called the UN, you have to have a right, and you want it to be well spent, right? Least of which, you don't want it to be spent allowing illegal immigrants into your country.
Yeah.
But what does Trump want from the UN? Did he mention it? Has he ever said it overtly?
But he's, I think he's quite set on. He seems to be serious on really finding peace around the world. All these places where there are clashes and wars. He's got a good heart there. I think his mind is fixated on that, and he has been making effort. You see, somebody said that he said he has put an end to 7 wars. So some of the critics said no, that's not true, because some of the things that he calls wars are not really wars. They're not wars because we don't read about them in our newspapers. There's been massive massacres going on in Congo between the Congo people and the Rwandan people for years. It has been going on for over 31 years, but we don't read about it in our newspapers. It's not front page news.
Yep.
Kosovo and what's the other country in the Balkans? There's been peace in the Balkans since the late 90s, but Kosovo has been the tensions have been increasing. There have been clashes, but so he sort of nicked it in the bud and put a stop to it, just like Cambodia and Thailand. That the little what storm in the teacup kerfuffle over that.
Oh, it's pretty brutal though.
Over that
in that short period of
temple
Yeah.
along the border. From what I understand, Trump actually threatened both the countries with very high tariffs.
Yeah.
He said, if you don't stop it now, I'm going to whack you with tariffs. So that's what put an end to it.
Yeah.
So that was a real thing that he did, and they really pulled back. Both sides pulled back.
Now that you mention it, actually, yeah, it is a different strategy to end wars, which is to use commerce.
But the critics say, oh no, that's just a little border clash thing. And he didn't do anything. He's just like trying to get claim credit and merit for something that he did not do. I disagree. I think if Trump did not intervene in Cambodia, Thailand, we don't know what else could have happened. They could have bombed each other from using Air Force.
Yeah.
We never know.
Yeah.
So if
And
at all, I
India,
think he's going to
Pakistan
leave behind. I think he wants a UN. He would like a UN to be able to do these things better. I think that's what he wants to also achieve. So.
Well, the hint is in the name, right? United Nations, right? So there's nothing united about the world right now.
I think if you ask me, the problem is more than half of the nations in the world are led by corrupt regimes.
Yeah.
Okay? And how the corrupt regimes are propped up is basically coming from money from certain key players. Not least, at least in what I used to call the neocon deep state world, includes what the US. But today, with the way Trump is handling it as a business, he's really not interested in funding these people, right? But then you still have Russia, China, Iran that are providing funding, whether it's direct or indirect, to all these various regimes. And that's where it makes the whole institution unworkable. Because what's the point if all your parliamentarians, for example, are being fed by external lobbyist money? That's about the same, right? That's what we are seeing. So I don't know how he's going to end up trying to solve this problem. I mean, the Security Council only deals with certain issues, right? And that is you only have veto power, right? So I don't know. I mean, I think it's early days, but he's already put his shot on what he wants.
He has indicated what he would like, but it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort. The United Nations over the last 80 years, it has developed its own culture, and it's a lot of lethargy and inertia. Either you move or you're stuck. I think United Nations is stuck.
Hey, I think we have a bunch of troops that are in where?
In Lebanon.
Is it Lebanon?
Lebanon, UNIFIL.
Lebanon.
We're
How
coming
many years
back,
now?
Since 19 years. We're coming back next year. But you see,
what the hell is that?
Another thing I noticed when President Trump was addressing the United Nations, it was full house attendance. All the seats seats were fully occupied.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days after Trump, the Indian Foreign Minister Jayashankar, he addressed the United Nations. There were like 10, 15 people, all the junior staffers. Nobody else was there to listen to him. When the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu was giving his address, same thing, because a lot of people disagree with Israel, so they boycotted his speech. Anyway, it was an empty hall. To me, you set up the United Nations so that people who don't disagree with each other can sit down and discuss and listen to each other. Otherwise, why do you want to have a United Nations in the first place? Just how you mentioned, what's so united about being United Nations? If, let's say, a leader from a country that you don't like happens to come to give his address, so you don't go. To me, it defeats the purpose. Even if you don't like, I don't know, North Korea, Zimbabwe, and the president or the prime minister comes along, he wants to address the United Nations. you should make sure that your people are there to listen to him.
Well, it's the grown-up version of Turning Point, right? You come up and have a chat.
I
then
was
try
just
and-
about to say the same thing. That's what
You
Charlie Kirk
have a
did.
conversation, right? And then
Yeah.
iron out
It is the
kinks.
only place in the world where you can listen. Your enemies have a platform to say what
Yeah.
they want to
Yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah.
and you too have a platform to say what you want to say.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do that, then shut it down.
Correct.
It's a waste of time.
And I like the whole idea that Trump says whatever that was in his mind. I like the whole idea that he doesn't mince his words. You know, because why? What is this whole point of being statesman-like if you are not going to grab the bull by the horns and sort out your problems? That's my feeling about it. So I mean, that goes for the institution. I mean, shall we take one of his blockbuster topic, the number one blockbuster topic?
Which is?
Shall we go with how he went after the Europeans and the cost of energy?
Yeah, it is very obvious he is not beholden to anybody.
Yeah.
That's why Donald Trump, President Trump can say whatever he wants to say. He's not beholden. He's totally isolated from the legacy media. He calls it the fake media. He doesn't care about what they say, and they also don't seem to care too much about what he says. They don't care for each other, but that gives him the certainty that since you can't depend on these people, I'm just going to say what I want to say. And he repeated that a few times.
Yeah.
He said, I have to say what I want to say. And energy was one of his main he kept repeating it, energy, and he's dead set against renewables and the green energy and the global warming and all this stuff, climate change, which he says are all connected, which I agree with. And he went strong. He went strong into energy. I thought he gave very good advice to the British. He says there's plenty of oil and gas under the North Sea, which is untapped because of regulations, because of all these green regulations.
Zero carbon.
So they're just handcuffing themselves. They are tying themselves up, and they're not maximizing the potential of North Sea energy resources. I thought that was a good point, and he says he hopes the British people and the Scottish people will make changes in that, because he pointed out that the Germans have made a switch. Talking about Europe, he says the present government in Germany, what's his name, Merz, I think.
Yeah.
This guy has done substantial changes in the past year, I think, and where Germany they have recommissioned some of their nuclear power reactors, and I think they're also going back to some fossil fuel power sources to overcome shortage of fuel, because they're paying through their nose for gas now, since they cut off the supply of gas from Russia. So Trump says that he's happy with Germany, and he says that they will take it further. So basically, he's telling the Europeans, you have to come to your senses, and I think they will, because Americans are pumping their own gas and their own oil now. There is a huge irony. You see, America, for 40 years, they could not export oil. It was against the law. Yeah. Since 1975, the Americans were not allowed, the U.S. oil industry, to export oil. And people like Clinton, Obama and all that were going strongly into global warming, climate change, green energy, renewables and blah, blah, blah. But many people don't realize in 2015, President Obama abolished that law on the export of oil by the U.S. So now for the last 10 years, America has started exporting oil, and they are the largest exporter of fossil fuels in the world. I mean, maybe they and Russia. After
But
Obama,
they are the biggest producer as well.
After Obama cancelled the ban on exports of American oil, and on the other hand, you are so pro into global climate change and greens and renewables and all that,
and subsidizing those industries.
and then you allow your export of oil. There's kind of a hypocrisy there. Or I don't know how it doesn't seem to be contradictory, but those things have happened in the States. I think they have to fall in. The world, especially Europe, will have to listen to Trump. In 2000, 2006, was it? When he was, I'm sorry,
2016.
2016, he was in the UN. 6 years ago, he was in the UN. And he told the Germans that you're buying all your gas from one
Right.
country.
Yeah, yeah,
and they
yeah.
laughed at him.
Yes.
There is video. There is video of the German delegation at the UN laughing when Trump said that. And true enough, now after the Ukraine war, the Russian gas has been
screwed.
cut off.
Yeah.
They're
It's
screwed.
Just sometimes beggars believe that an entire government can be so short-sighted. I mean, when you understand the importance of energy to your country, because energy power allows you to grow as an economy, right? Because without power, you can't have factories and
Yeah, that's
machines and
right.
etc., right? And then how can you devolve the responsibility of the source of your power to Russia? I mean,
Yeah. And
And not just
put all your eggs
I
in
mean,
one basket.
Yeah,
right?
All your eggs in one
Don't
then
even
basket.
think of it that it can potentially
Be
be
a-
your enemy.
yes.
But you are putting
This
your
is-
egg, as you put it, in one basket.
This
How
is a-
dumb are you?
And then
national
now,
security.
and now the Russian gas has been cut off, or they themselves shut it off, and now you're paying 3 to 4 times market price for gas, which to me is even more insane.
It seems they keep on
Eh, eh.
shooting themselves in the foot.
And then to,
Right.
to top it off, you know, you are basically Europe trying to tell America that we are worried the Russians are going to go even beyond Ukraine, and you want America to fund the war in Ukraine. That was before Trump say, hey, I'm not going to do that. But, you know, Biden was basically funding the war in Ukraine. And at the same time, you are also funding the war in Ukraine by buying their oil.
Yeah, he said that.
What the hell
Yeah.
is that?
He
Yeah.
said the among the biggest culprits are the NATO countries.
Yeah.
You're buying Russian oil.
Yeah.
And-
so
and
you're
then-
funding people to
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
carry out war
Ah,
against you.
ah.
How stupid is that?
So it's, I don't know,
So-
Europe
so-
is in a confused situation.
So you
No, but this thing, here's the other thing which Syed brought up. That's why, I mean, Trump couldn't care less what the mainstream media talks about. Because the mainstream media doesn't want to point out
No.
all this hypocrisy.
I don't know. These people are all, they have their agendas, which it's illogical, doesn't make sense, and they're basically shooting themselves in the foot or
well,
shooting
they
themselves
had
in the
energy
head.
sources, they had nuclear. They switched it off because they wanted to save the world. But what about saving your economy first before you save the world?
I know it,
Um,
and it is really not helping them. Talking about Europe now, since I mean, there are repercussions. There's always a cause. If there's a cause, there's an effect.
Yeah.
Repercussions. Throughout Europe now, the extreme right. I don't want to call them right wing. They just people who are on the right. They are really gaining in momentum and popularity. You look at Germany. The biggest party now actually is that AFD, Alternative for Deutschland.
Yeah. the
And
former Nazi
France,
party, right?
that what's her name? The lady who now
Marine
has
Le
been
Pen.
Le Pen. She
Yeah.
has been disqualified, isn't it?
Yeah.
But nevertheless, her party is extremely popular. And in Holland, by the way, they're having a runoff elections in Holland quite soon. Geert Wilders, right wing. I think they are going to win. They will not win like a huge majority, but I think they will still be the largest party in parliament. So all these right wing movements basically represent people are tired and fed up of all these leftist and woke kind of ideas that are hanging out. The protests in London, was it like what Tommy Robinson or
Yeah,
whatever
Tommy
his name was,
Robinson. Yeah.
that was more than 1 million crowd. It is
That's
not
exactly what I
100,000.
said.
Yeah.
It is not
The pictures.
100,000.
Yeah.
No, I saw the
That's
video. I said, this is
massive.
not 100,000 crowd.
No, that's massive.
Yeah.
And in Ireland and everywhere, people are fed up. They're tired.
Wow.
And I think Trump's remarks, they dovetail with what is being
Happening
felt
on the ground.
in Europe.
Yeah.
This is what the present crop of European leaders, either they are blind or they are just purposely ignoring what is happening on the ground. But what Trump is saying basically resonates, or is a reflection of what is happening on the ground now in Europe. People are tired of all this illogical, totally, you can't understand why people want to do this, their policies. It just doesn't work anymore. Cross purposes.
I think it's just a reflection of what happens in America. Normally, I was telling a friend of mine just the other day that whatever happens in America is always a precursor of what's going to happen in Europe down the line, maybe 5 years. In Asia, maybe 10 or 15 years. We are always late, because why? They are always the first move. They tend to be, at least in our modern society, the first mover. The first mover either towards the left or the first mover towards the right. Okay? So I think that ideological shift that moved to the left has already burned out in America, right? And it has now, and it's burned out the last since 2016. 2020, Trump lost, if you ask me, a number of reasons, mainly associated with how COVID and the deep state had played the game. Yeah. But I think on hindsight, the loss was actually good for Trump and America because it allows him to prepare for the second term. But then again, that means 8 years later, whatever that has happened in America has actually has actually settled in Europe, and the movement in Europe start to go that way as well. So it's very simple the way I see it, bro. The way I see it is that when a society become rich, okay, the society become weak. Weakness is usually in the masses is the symptom is empathy. You are no longer, hey, get up in the morning, pick up on your bootstrap, go and work hard, right? It's now, daddy's can give me a car, I can go, I expect this, go to university, and the university looks at it, hey, I can charge, 3 times more, my administrative cost increases, I don't really give you a degree that gets you a proper job, I start giving welfare a lot, and then I tax my people high, right? At the end of the day, you drain your treasury, you start talking about, I'm going to save the climate, which until today, if you challenge me, I'm willing to debate on the science of it. So, what happens? You shoot yourself in the foot.
They are not delivering. No doubt, the West, Europeans, US, they are wealthier societies.
But they've been wealthy for a long time.
But still,
so
at the end of the day,
it's not recent.
Correct.
Yeah,
but it's come to a head now.
It's a time. It's
but
just a
but
tipping
still,
point.
it's how much money you make versus the price of a cup of coffee. Everything's going up. Wealth is relative. Life is not becoming easier for them; it's becoming more difficult.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned just now, you get degrees, they can't get jobs, or they can't get the right jobs or the right qualifications. These are real issues. And then all these immigrants coming into their countries, messing up the place, and using up a lot of their resources. And the complaint in the UK is very valid. The local people are not given the due, their access to social services, education, health, public housing, whereas the immigrant who comes just off the boat is pushed to the top of the line using their taxpayers' money. So it doesn't, at the end of the day, they are being shortchanged. That's just one aspect of the economy. So you have to multiply this manifold throughout the entire economy, through education, government services, job opportunities, business opportunities. Life is getting very difficult for them. And they can see that, if you ask them, how do you see the next 5 years? People are like, I don't know. They're not
very
certain.
positive about the future.
No, they do not. You can't see so clearly what's going to happen the next 5 years. So
this guy was working in London 15 years ago. He was a journalist for Reuters. And I was asking him, why did you leave London 15 years ago?
Oh, gosh.
Give a short snapshot of that.
Okay, so for a start, you want to work in a vibrant economy, right? So we think that, we come from the Far East, we think the British were so good,
right.
Actually, I was in school in the early 80s, mid-80s, and I realized actually the British are they're not as clever as we thought they were. They were leaders, right?
Yeah.
But then when I went back and worked in the Square Mile, in the Canary Wharf, in the late 2008, 2009, right? The productivity of the typical British banker, corporate worker, stockbroker in a scramble. Who you think are the top of the pyramid in terms of the workers there? They're a bloody lazy bunch, I told Sam this, and Sam was like, huh, really? Yeah. They would go off for lunch at 12, 12:15, 12:30, go and have a long, boozy lunch, multiple glasses of wine. They'll go on to 2:30, 2:45, then go back to the trading desk and then do trades, And they'll be, I'm not kidding you, they would be pissed, okay? Drunk, like sloshed, right? And then keying in trades.
Not the best of trades,
and then you get things like Nick Leeson happen and SocGen and all these kind of things, right? Jerome Cavell at SocGen and all that, these kind of things. And then at 4:30 they bugger off. They leave early, they go down the pub.
They have lost
and
it.
day in, day out,
They have
and
lost
then
it.
you add to that, right? You bring in a migrant community
who are hungry, who are hardworking.
But you have a part that is hungry and hardworking. Then that's fine. But then then those guys, the initial part, they assimilate. Then you bring in a bunch of hoo-ha from somewhere in a culture that are lazy. They don't have the same work ethics. They have a very different cultural outlook, and they don't want to assimilate. They speak their own language. They want their own laws within the...
They don't know what laws are.
They don't.
They don't.
They don't.
They have no
and
idea.
then they are all on the dole, and they commit crimes. So why not the people who are hardworking get pissed off? Here's the funny part, I think. I don't know how your experience is, because you went to Purdue, right? And I was in Florida. I mean, I'm trying to compare your difference. You're 15 years. I was 82 to 86. I was in college. And I find that, here's what I find with my American colleagues or my American classmates, right? The portions that are smart are damn bloody smart, right? And they work hard. That's one thing. And those are the guys that actually end up to be at the top of the food chain in terms of developing technologies, moving the economy, doing all this type of thing. And then I went into my work life and then into business, and I found the same thing, the same culture. Okay, I mean, one of my favorite movie is American Psycho. All right. So actually, when he was telling me this story, actually it reminded me of American Psycho. So I don't understand. I don't have that Wall Street culture in me. I'm more entrepreneur business people. And until today, I keep going back, and I find the same attitude. They are all really, they roll up their sleeves and they work hard, right? So I understand how the American detest illegal immigrants coming into their country, and actually all of a sudden just given all the free things in life while they have to work their ass off, right? I mean, even if you're a waiter or waitress, you're dependent on your tips, so you're hustling all the time, right? So this is where I think Trump was absolutely right when he put them in face. He say, did he not say to Europe that your country did he use the F word?
Going to hell.
Yeah, it's going to hell.
Going to hell, he said.
Yeah. And I don't think he's wrong. I think they have to do something about it. But the powers that be, okay, I think the powers are also funded by the capital market, the way I see it. That is why WEF and the takeover of the UN apparatus, including IMF, and the Davos crowd, are basically capital market crowds.
Well, I heard something very interesting this morning, right?
Sure, go on.
For the year 2025, this year to date, right? London has dropped out of the top 20 global share markets for IPOs.
Seriously?
Yeah, and London at one stage, right, was the financial capital of the world.
Right.
Now it's out of the top 20. In fact, Dubai has outranked them in IPO activity this year. That's how bad it is.
No, you want to have IPO, you must have vibrant entrepreneurial business.
Correct.
Right? But if you
but you can be a foreign company coming to list in London. That's fine, right?
No,
but you want to have a deep and broad capital market with a good investor
Bro,
base. And right now in London is not it.
It's the first thing actually is this, You ask me, you must have a domestic base of that first. If you don't have your domestic base of companies that can go IPO, all right, then I can tell you, you are expecting other people to come to your market and IPO at your market.
Yeah,
It
they
doesn't
won't
work that
come.
way.
Yeah,
It
no.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Your base must be there first.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that is what Trump is doing. That is absolutely right. When he tariff and basically, I've said this, I said, I don't know whether you agree with me or not. I said the world has never been a free market. America has been a free market. Okay? But the world has never been. All he has done is restructured the global trade regime, which is say, oh, you tariff me, right? I'm going to now say, okay, I'm going to tariff you as well. All right? And I'm also going to see how much minimally I can earn import tax to cover some of my budgetary fiscal requirement. Right? So I think that what he is doing is makes sense as a businessman. It makes absolute sense for me.
The other thing I noticed in President Trump's speech was the things that he did not say. Every time American presidents talk to a world audience, like the famous George Bush Jr., Obama in his famous Cairo speech, George Bush Jr.'s, the famous speech, either you are with us or against us. I think Obama went to Cairo and told the Arabs, like something like, you're due for change, to bring in change. And I think a year or 2 years after his speech was the Arab Spring happened and all the Arab regimes got overthrown, So, but in Trump's speech, he never used this straight-jacket American terminologies like democracy, freedom, we are here to fight for, democracy, spread democracy in the world and all that. He didn't use all that language, the George Bush kind of language, he didn't. Towards the closing of his speech, he said that he wished for all the peoples, all the countries in this world. Before that, he said all the leaders who were present at that UN speech on that day, and all the countries they represented, they have all worked hard to develop their communities, their countries, to push their people forward. He acknowledged all the leaders in all the countries around the world, and then he expressed a hope that all the people in all the countries around the world will progress, and they will fight. He said fight for their freedoms, without mentioning communist countries or democracies or autocracies.
Yeah.
There was no differentiation. There was no that us against them kind of usage of vocabulary in his speech, which was always present in previous presidents, American presidents talking to the world. He addressed the entire world, and he said we should all, fight for our freedoms and move our people forward. So without discriminating between the famous communist, non-communist divide and things like that. So basically, he is looking at all countries as friends and potential business partners. He's a deal maker. Remember, he went to North Korea, and Kim Jong-un, he still considers him a friend. And early this week, 4 years of Biden, the peace process or the thawing of relations between North Korea and South Korea went out the window. Trump visited the Panmunjom, line, and he crossed the line into North Korea when he was first term as president. Then Biden took over. All that went out the window. Now, just this week, South Korea has again sort of re-established contact with North Korea to continue their dialogue, so to speak. There's not going to be a peace between them next week or next year, I doubt. As far as reconciliation, that's a 50 years, 100 years away, I do not know. But at least they are starting to talk again. South Korea, they want to talk again with North Korea. So again, this is again because of Trump 2.0. So it's all part of, it reflects the attitude of the American administration now. There's no need to fight and be hostile towards each other. Let's just get on with it and move on and do something. Let's do some business and that kind of things.
I think that's what people don't get about
Trump.
Trump.
That came across very well in his speech. There was no animosity towards anyone. Even Venezuela, whom he doesn't like now.
No, I think people tend to. I want to get into that, but I think I'll put that to later. Which is basically, I want to ask you, why is it what is it that we see, which is exactly what you're saying? I don't see him having animosity with actually anyone. I mean, you're talking about what did he say? He said he thought that the Ukraine war was the easiest for him to solve because he and Putin are friends, right? And he felt that, that was the easiest war. But you see, here's also his honesty. Instead, he said it becomes the hardest.
Yeah, war is war.
No, but I mean, I'm talking about how he characterized things in his speech. No president is gonna admit that. I can tell you, I've never heard a president admit that. I thought this was gonna be the easiest because I have this relationship with this leader, and then I'm wrong.
Well, politics is all about winning a beauty contest, right? They never speak the truth.
Yeah, but in this case,
but Donald Trump does.
He
speak
did
the truth.
speak
And
the
he
truth.
speaks like a normal person.
correct.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I see things, and here again, when people say, and this goes to our last pod, where I was trying to explain, maybe not articulately enough, I think that, people don't see. Trump does not want war. He wants low energy prices so that everybody can get rich. He sees the green, he call it what? The green climate scam or something like that.
He said it's the biggest con job in history.
Yeah, it's the biggest con job in
agree.
history.
Yeah. I agree.
You agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. And not just I agree. I would actually challenge anybody in the audience, anyone, anywhere here in Kuala Lumpur, in a climate symposium, to call me as a panel member and let's debate. Okay?
No, to save Mother Earth, right? You literally suck out carbon dioxide. You remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. You liquefy it.
Dude.
Minus 243 degrees Celsius, hang engineer. You liquefy it, and then you pump it 2 kilometers in Alberta, Canada. You pump it 2 kilometers into the ground, into Mother Earth, and you leave it there, and you're saving the Earth.
You know
It's
what?
toxic.
I mean, it's so funny.
How?
I mean, I'm a chemical engineer, right? I'm like, I find the arguments from the climate and renewables people are actually so laughable. And from a business person standpoint, I said the renewable scam, the bubble of the renewable energy, even today with the overproduction from China of solar panels, batteries, and whatnot, they still cannot compete with fossil fuel in terms of price.
They create the hype because, as Donald Trump said in his speech, there's money.
Yeah.
There is huge money,
Correct.
huge money
So the
in
thing
renewables.
is, now
It's
I
a
understand.
scam.
At
It's
this
a
age,
scam. It's
you
a
realize,
scam.
right?
You're just pumping
These-
money.
It's just scam. You
And-
create the fear, and
these
then
new
somebody is selling the
narratives-
renewable energy to
These
you.
new narratives, such as ESG and the climate, are basically new business plans. That's it.
That's
right?
it.
And there's the new. So if you're a car manufacturer, right? We've all owned old cars, right? Any car mechanic can repair an old Toyota, right? Today you buy one of these new EVs, only that manufacturer can repair it, and so somehow you got a captive new revenue stream, where you get to monetize them for the lifetime down the road for ages and ages.
I mean, let's ask
Right.
the chemical engineer. Your carbon dioxide content in the atmosphere is 0.04%. This is NASA and the National Oceanic Administration's figures, which can be debated. 0.04% of the atmosphere is carbon dioxide. How can tweaking that figure up or down affect the temperature of the remaining 99.06%, I think. How?
No,
99.96%.
I was just saying,
How?
one volcano blow up, okay, is enough for you to actually destroy 3 years of your carbon capture situation. And by the way, guess what our beautiful greenery that provide oxygen to the living beings, uses as their fuel? Carbon dioxide.
So it's just a scam, lah. And people have made money from this.
Oh yeah, I mean
Billions, they've made billions. One of them was Al Gore,
Yeah.
the founder of the carbon credits trading, right?
Yeah.
Al Gore.
Yeah.
He's a
I
multi-millionaire.
used to cover the carbon markets in London, 2008, right?
Yeah.
And it was the biggest fucking scam. They would buy, rather than actually reduce your emissions, they would buy carbon credits in
Yeah.
some far-flung part of
it's
the
just
world.
a scam.
Yeah.
And then who would go and find out they were doing the right thing? They were scamming each other left and right.
they securitize.
So you buy
they
carbon
securitize.
credits to offset your
If you had a
footprint,
forest reserve in your country or a nature preserve,
Yeah.
the coral reefs that you cannot touch, they can issue carbon credit certificates based on those things and trade it.
and it's
and
another
trade it.
financial market
It's a
mechanism,
trade-
right?
Yeah, trade
And
it.
guess what? They're trying to do that in Malaysia today, 17 years later. Hello, it failed then in London. What makes you think
what
it's-
are we doing?
That's the other thing I wanna say this point
Please.
about from Trump's speech at the United Nations, and I want to link it to our country
Right.
Since after all we are in Malaysia, let's say something about Malaysia.
Okay, American
yeah,
audience, this is has a linkage to a Malaysian.
you see,
situation.
I want to go back in history. You see, do you remember ISO 9000?
Oh yeah. Oh my God, you're going back that far. Okay.
I mean, what was ISO 9000 all about? When they brought in ISO 9000 into the country here, it was a government thing. The government went all out on ISO
it
9000.
actually came from the Europeans.
Yeah, but here it was mostly a government thing. The private sector was not too keen on it. And then what happened? We spent so much money. It cost us so much. Cost of doing business went up with the government. Cost of doing business with the government went up because of ISO 9000. And then the presidents changed, the prime ministers changed. And today you ask any university undergraduate, do you know what is ISO 9000 back in the 90s? They go like, what? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And then you had, I call this the sky is falling kind of scare tactics, scare issues to scare the people. No? Then you had Y2K. Thankfully, Y2K is lasted only 1 second, right? 31st December 1999, right? Because they said 1 second into the year 2000, all the computers are going to crash around the world. So it lasted only 1 second. The moment people turn on their computers after midnight, everything was fine. So that's the end of Y2K. But people made money from that. We just followed. Malaysians have followed. And then, do you remember the TPPA under Obama? The Trans-Pacific
Agreement.
Well, that is
Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement.
Say, can I just
Yeah,
add
go ahead.
into that?
Go ahead.
The TPPA is
TPPA.
TPPA ni,
Yeah.
okay, is basically an offshoot of what multilateral trade regime is all about, which is born out of the WTO, and Trump is dismantling every single one.
Yeah,
of that.
with arm twisting.
All right.
TPPA was arm twisting. You had to agree, or various repercussions will hit you.
Yeah.
But okay, besides the point, when Obama was pushing TPPA, that became the rage here. Everybody started talking about TPPA.
I remember I was on radio at the time.
As though
Every
without
day
TPPA,
was about
we'd be
TPPA.
dying.
There's no future for Malaysia,
Yeah.
And then Obama.
Today, can I add that? Therefore, today, without ESG certification, we've got no future.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Then
the stock exchange, the Securities Commission and whatnot is actually pushing this so hard.
Then Obama left the scene, and the TPPA went out the window with Obama.
Yeah.
Overnight, everybody
gone
forgot about
poof.
TPPA.
Yeah.
And then you have global warming, climate change.
Yeah.
This has been lasting a bit long. But then again, you have a new president who comes now, Trump. Well, this is his second term. He says, I don't believe in global climate change, global warming, whatever. And somebody yanked up a handbrake on this issue all around the world, and it's no more an issue anymore, even in our country.
Yeah.
So why do we?
Because we are stupid.
That's it. Somebody comes out with ISO 9000, TPPA, global warming, and we just go along with it.
Can I?
Then when the president changes, we go like, okay, let's forget about it. See what the next president is going to say. What?
You know what I call ESG? So now they want you to have ESG certification, all right?
Okay.
You know what I call ESG certification? Is the halal certification of the Western world. All right?
So
you
they have
want a halal chop.
They have a Jakim somewhere.
They have a Jakim in Brussels.
Right.
Okay? That's how they're making the money. You know, when ISO 9000 first came out, I was still in Shell. All right? I was like, why are we doing this? You know why? Shell is a 200-year-old company. Okay? I have a manual just that thick that covers all our operation in the upstream from the time we do seismic survey until we do field development and construction. You think you can do better than us after 200 years of operation?
So these are the flavors of the month. Whenever there's a new president or something new comes up in the West, they come out with these weird ideas, and the rest of the world, especially third world countries, including us, we start hopping, singing, and dancing to these new tunes, without realizing why we're doing this.
You know that movie Wolf of Wall Street? And then there's a scene in the restaurant, Matthew McConaughey, that one, right, with DiCaprio, and then DiCaprio says he's the rookie stockbroker, right? He says, isn't it better if you make your clients money? Then McConaughey, who's the general partner, the managing partner, says, the truth is, you always have a new situation, right? You never let them sell. You introduce them a new idea, a new situation. You let them stay in the carousel, the game. You never let them cash out. This is it, right? There's Y2K, and then there's ESG, then there's climate change, and then there's this, there's that.
So I
You're
hope
constantly bedazzled by these new narratives.
Your 50% of your audience is American, but I hope the remainder of your audience who are Malaysians today, if they listen to us talking, come to your senses, and don't just be third world goofballs, just ready to follow what somebody else says. Someone comes up with a new weird idea, new buzzwords, and then everybody has to start singing the same tune. Like as though if you don't do it, that's the end of the world, and that's the end of us. This has to stop.
I know.
We have to start thinking. We have to start using our own common sense. And
no,
our
the
own
common
logic.
sense that I have that I want to tell actually for our East Asian audience is that whatever happens in America and why we talk about America a lot and why we talk about the developed world a lot is because in my experience they are practically about a decade ahead of us. So whatever happens a decade ago, okay, we are just trying to follow their butt. Okay, so actually when you see what they're doing now in America and they are changing, is because they've already been beaten and they are now changing. But we are so late, because we are always that copycat, right? That wants to be there. We don't realize they've already said, hey, this is not working.
Yeah. If it works, fine. But if it's dubious, debatable, don't know what results you're going to come out with, why be so worked up over something that is not yet proven, or that is proven to not work at all.
And here's the thing why Donald Trump is exactly the president that America needed and a leader that actually the world is seeing now to make these changes is because he looks from a practical businessman standpoint. He knows it doesn't work. He knows that is just scam,
Yep.
So, I mean, I've been in the marine sector, in oil and gas. I've been in the marine sector. The IMO International Maritime Organization, wants to have a carbon neutral or zero carbon target of certain, and they want to have renewable engines and all this blah. You know what Trump has done in the UN? He said, if you do that, I'm going to tariff you. Right? So there goes that out the window. So I think and the thing that people need to understand right now, I am willing to bet my bottom dollar that after Trump, more than likely J.D. Vance is going to be the next president for the next 8 years. Okay? The guy is damn good. And actually not just Republican has got such a deep bench, but the Democrats bench is basically cobwebs, and full of woke lunatics. So I think, if we don't see this now and actually take the hint from what Trump is doing, we're gonna get screwed shit, man. Okay? Just watch. Okay, so our situation here is do it now. Do it now because the guy ain't gonna. I mean, he ain't playing it, man. He's gonna make it done. You know. So I think going to that actually. I mean, we've touched the green scam, right? We've touched the institution of
The UN.
the UN itself. There's one thing that actually he did mention. I want to touch, and I want your point on it. Syed, NATO. Okay, we've touched a bit in the sense that the NATO countries themselves are funding the war against themselves.
I think,
right?
yeah. Okay,
But-
go ahead.
But I think the mainstream media was saying when JD Vance went to Europe and gave that lecture. Remember that lecture that he gave?
Yeah, that's
The
right.
whole mainstream media went, "Wow, he's breaking our ties with NATO." They are not leaving NATO. They just said, they say, "Oh, they're not going to increase." I mean, the US has been funding NATO, and the NATO countries has not stepped up. Today, what did Trump achieve?
It's
5%
yeah,
of their GDP.
It doesn't serve it doesn't serve the interests of the public. It doesn't serve the interests of their communities, the European communities, their society, and it doesn't serve the interests of the voters who are going to vote for JD Vance and who voted for Trump. At the end of the day, they are politicians also, because if it does not benefit the people, then it's not going to benefit you as a politician, as a leader. You're going to lose your power. The statement that Donald Trump made, or rather the facts that he pointed out, that NATO countries are buying Russian oil and thereby financing the war against
Themselves.
Ukraine, against themselves. I think he's going to use that as leverage.
Yeah.
Because right now, a bit about the Ukraine war.
Sure.
Zelensky is taking instructions. The number one people behind Zelensky are the Brits. The war is being run from London, from a place called GCHQ in
Oh, really?
Cheltenham.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
GCHQ is General Communications Headquarters, the intelligence.
MI5. MI6.
6. Their intelligence headquarters, GCHQ, is in a place called Cheltenham. It's a very famous place. That's where they do all the skullduggery. But daily orders are issued how to conduct the war from there. This is like quite well known, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, Trump, by making that statement, he's basically saying, look, if this is what you want, you are doing, don't think I know what you're doing. And I think he's going to use it as a leverage against NATO, because the target is NATO, against NATO, so that they will cut down on this bravado and all this adventurism and I don't know what other agendas they have to prolong the war in Ukraine. That NATO and the British will change their minds, and if he can get NATO and the British to change their minds, that will have an impact on Ukraine, on Zelensky. The war can be brought to a closure. The ceasefire, what they want is a ceasefire. The lines are already there, because the Russians do not seem to have much interest in really invading Ukraine, crossing over into Poland, from there into Austria and Germany. They're not interested in all that.
May I ask you this question then? Actually, because he has already put up a proposal to Putin, right? In essence, he's basically saying, you practically can have whatever that you've already taken so far.
Which NATO doesn't accept. Does
Alright.
not accept. And Ukraine. The stumbling
No,
block
but
the
I
stumbling
don't
block
think
is
Putin
Ukraine.
has accepted it either.
I think Putin wants certain guarantees. He wants the demilitarization of Ukraine, and he wants neutrality, not just what do you call this,
But you
guarantees that
can't get demilitarization.
not just guarantees that Ukraine will not join NATO. He wants demilitarization. You can bargain it down. You can discuss it down from there. You can. But I think these people are standing at the other extreme. You have to withdraw completely from all the parts of Ukraine that is occupied by Russia now, which Putin will not agree.
I want to get this because I know you're more knowledgeable of this than I am. And it's been bothering me because I am of the opinion, and I thought that was the case, in the sense that Trump has put on the table that basically is an exchange of territory and peace. Right? This is in essence what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you've taken, you keep it.
Yep.
Let's stop the war, right? Now, that should put enough. And if Putin were just to say, okay, that's fine, America, you guarantee that,
Yeah, I think that's what he's trying to say.
right?
He wants a guarantee. He wants a guarantor.
Right? So if America is willing to guarantee that by their presence in Ukraine in business, which they have already taken effectively with the mineral deals, all right, their economic interest is now within Ukraine.
You're talking about the Americans?
The Americans,
Okay.
right? Because there was that mineral deals that was concluded with Scott Bessent, right, and Zelensky. So if you got that, why do you keep on bombing? You just stop it, right? And then you put the pressure on the Europeans.
No,
I
because
don't
I
understand
think
why
yeah,
he keep on bombing.
both sides, or the Ukrainian side also, both sides have not come to any real agreement. There's no day after scenario has not been agreed upon. So it is still all-out war. So Putin says, if I cease fire now, stop firing now, and they haven't fully agreed, they're just going to rearm and come back. And then without those guarantees, joining NATO and all those things, it is not good business lah.
Syed, this point, I want to ask. I just need some clarity that in terms of the involvement of the. I mean, you put it that the UK is very much behind what is happening in Ukraine.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So, why? I mean, they are so far away from the theatre of war.
As I say, they're using this war to, first of all, cut down Germany to size, and Russia.
Why
is
do
now,
that? Why cut down Germany to size? I mean, they are
leftover of their great British Empire. Dreams of empire, the great game, whatever lah. People find it hard to understand why the British are so paranoid about Russia, about this war. But I think it comes down to financial interests.
okay.
The London bankers are always financing everything around the world. Wars are profitable, But of course, this is speculative lah. But there has to be a money angle somewhere. Of course, the weapons manufacturers are making a lot of money. All those bombs, aerial bombs that are dropped, are made in UK. There's a huge bomb factory in the UK.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Americans,
I thought they're bringing it from the US.
Americans make bombs, but the UK manufactures a lot of bombs. The old style, the dumb gravity bombs comes from UK.
I see.
But now they're all smart. They fix all those flying wing gadgets and stuff like that. But UK is a major weapon supplier.
Nice.
So they make money. Somebody has to make money. At the end of the day, it's all about money. But the British are in it for this, the famous, the great game. They want to be the...
They still want to
Queen
hold
of-
on to
Queen
their
Victoria
to
and stuff like that,
their
they have-
fading
They have
empire.
various motivations, but whatever you say, they are in the game. They are very much involved. You see, remember when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister for that year or something, he flew down to Ukraine
Right.
when the Russians had surrounded Kiev.
Uh-huh.
The Russian army actually surrounded Kiev. And the Russians said, we will withdraw subject to terms, ceasefire, which Zelensky almost agreed.
Okay.
Boris Johnson flew down to Kiev and told Zelensky, don't agree, we'll back you up. We'll
Ah,
back
yeah, I
you all the
remember
way."
that one. Yes.
And then they conned the Russians. They said, okay, we will agree to ceasefire. The Russians pulled back. They didn't ceasefire.
I tell you.
Boris Johnson.
Yeah, he reminded me.
Everybody knows
that
Boris
was
Johnson
true,
went
yeah.
to Kiev. During a war, it was a war zone. Boris Johnson flew into Kiev
God damn
to
it.
convince Zelensky, no, don't make any terms now.
Incredible, man.
So I mean, I
Yeah.
think the more you look at what Trump said and how he has put, I do think there is a game plan. This guy, his cabinet, the way I see it, they've got a game plan for everything. They just don't come out and just say it. People underestimate this fella to their own peril, in my opinion. So when he goes out and talk about the institution of the UN in that way, he's got a game plan. I mean, he's, like you said, he's already taken the US out of WHO. He doesn't care. And I think that if you look at from a commerce standpoint, right? From a commerce standpoint, he doesn't like what they call the institution of WTO either, right? So what he's doing is actually like any good business. I would rather negotiate with multiple suppliers rather than I negotiate with a consortium of suppliers that has a judge that is going to arbitrate between me and my supplier. How stupid kind of commerce is that? You know what I mean? Say you and I do small business as well, right? Okay? Even when I was doing big business, that is collusion. I wouldn't want to do that with my suppliers.
This rules-based order, whatever they call it, rules-based order, it has not really helped even themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know who it helps. It doesn't. It's not really. It works against their own interests. And Trump is a commonsensical guy, and his whole team, the entire batch of Republicans, they seem to have more common sense than the Democrats.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned the ESG just now, you see.
Yeah.
I don't know what is the head or tail of that. This whole idea behind this ESG and social.
Oh, I think
we call it CSR, isn't it?
No. It's a very different than CSR.
Okay.
Okay. The ESG, it stands for environmental, sustainability, and governance.
Social.
No, sustainability. I'm sorry.
Sustainability?
Yes, sustainability. Okay. And the funny thing is that, so you got environment one, all right? You got sustainability. The first time it came out, I was asking that question. Are you talking about my business sustainability? Yeah, they say. But actually, it's not. It's actually, it's actually put another layer behind it. The actual sustainability is about environmental sustainability. So I, as a company, has got to track my carbon footprint. Okay? I have to show how I am helping to sustain the environment. Okay? So like I said, do you know the 5 biggest country that actually, if you want to believe in this folklore of myth, I call it, right? The 5 biggest country that produces carbon that goes into the atmosphere is basically America, China, Russia, India, maybe then the EU. Okay, or EU somewhere around there. I don't know what.
The biggest economies in
the biggest
world.
economy in the world. And if you think India is going to be worried about their carbon footprint, you go and fly kite. If you think China is worried about their carbon footprint in spite of what they say, go fly kite.
No, as Trump said in the speech, Europe has cut down their carbon footprint by 37%, but the
At what
global,
price though?
But at what price?
Yeah.
But the global carbon footprint has gone up by 54%.
Yeah, and not just that.
Birds fly across borders without passport, right? So
Bro,
does the wind blow,
you think about this. I said, why is Malaysia a poor country with a GDP per capita of not even $13,000, okay, wanting to be worried about this when our people need the cheapest energy source we can? And actually, let's put it this way, the equivalent of us saving so-called our carbon emission in the world is equivalent to me farting today. Okay? And that's how much it will affect. I capture that fart, or that's my effect on the smell of this room. You know?
You're not going to talk about our multi-billion ringgit carbon capture.
No, I'm not. I've talked about that already. So, I mean, so I can see that he's going to dismantle. I think the dismantling, I think we did an episode we call the resetting of global economics by Trump, right? Or something to that extent. I think we are also looking at restructuring of the UN and global institutions. Away from multilateralism. I mean, come on, you look at it, like you said, most of the countries are not paying anything to be part of the UN. So I say, we pay tax, right? People are going to kill me for this, okay? But I'm going to say it anyway, all right? Why is my vote the same as a guy who doesn't even pay taxes? Why is my vote, I pay more tax?
Well, we cannot go to the Roman system where only the
Why not?
only those adult males,
I'm going to say that.
property owners can
Yeah.
vote.
No,
If you own property,
to
you
be
can vote.
honest, you ask me, I said, why
Common man
not?
cannot vote.
Why not? If you don't pay taxes, you don't have a vote. You know, because number one, all right, you're not contributing to actually the income of the state. Why do you have a say of how the income of the state is being used?
But I hope the point that you're trying to make and what Donald Trump said about United Nations and all these global institutions, that so many as we have today. Earlier we mentioned WHO and all
Yep.
that. We really have to, us Malaysia here, we really have to rethink the usefulness of all these bodies and organizations in how they impact our policy making.
Yeah.
It's okay to belong to these societies or organizations, or like belonging to your favorite badminton club or your favorite maybe four-wheel drive club, you see. But you don't change your family's habits, your family's culture according to your favorite badminton club or
And
four-wheel
worst
drive
thing
club.
is actually when you
Which
keep
we-
on buying the records that actually you're not winning anything.
And but that's what we are doing, when we become members of all these global institutes and global organizations, we tend to get carried away by what they tell us
And
to
they
do.
impose rules upon you.
You can say no. There are ways of getting around this, but some people seem to be carried away like, oh, we have to follow the World Bank standards. We have to follow the IMF regulations. Like as though it is biblical or written in
Gospel
stone.
Since you talk about that,
unquestioning,
right? Since you talk about that,
You
you're an
can be
ex
members.
dude. You're an ex-banker, right? What is happening now, for example, because of all these ESG rules and this whole getting sucked up by the new green scam, okay? The banks are not lending to fossil fuel
This is exactly what
industry,
exactly.
right?
In Malaysia.
Yeah, they're not lending.
Exactly.
So basically, we are killing our own industry.
So
you know,
what does our government, what does our banking regulator do?
nothing. In
Why
fact,
do you
they-
want to follow them?
in fact, our regulators are actually promoting this some more.
This is the problem. This is exactly the problem.
Isn't it
You
crazy?
see, like
So,
20% of our GDP is oil and gas.
like India and China, they are members of the United Nations or all these organizations. But when they want to shoot their rockets into the moon, space, and their satellite launches, they just pick a spot and they send their rockets up and launch the satellites up. Whereas we signed this international, there's a treaty, that sort of governs this putting satellites into outer space, some radio, whatever, treaty or something, satellites and all that. And when we shot our first satellite into space all those years ago, we had to get approval, for our slot in the sky. Whereas the Indians and Chinese go like, what approval, what slot? It's space.
The final frontier.
If this slot is
To
occupied,
go where no man has gone
if
before.
this slot is occupied, I'll just go to the next slot. What's the big deal?
Yeah, who gets
But
there
we go like,
first?
oh no, we are signatories to this convention, so we have to obey the rules and don't know.
Oh, I have no.
So you see,
same
we just handcuff ourselves. Exactly the point you're saying about all these now the green regulations. I know some banks are not
not some banks.
all banks.
Yes.
They're not financing.
They-
Why?
Why? Why when your country needs this money in order to grow its biggest GDP
Whereas
portion?
China now is the largest economy, PPP, in the world. They are member of UN. They are member of WTO, whatever. But back home in China, they do what is good for China.
For them. Yeah. They do what it, and
What's wrong
this is
with
what
us?
to be honest, you ask me, right? Why did all this come about? It's because of the global capital market, primarily pushed from London, from Brussels, from Stockholm, from Wall Street. Okay, the money man, okay, has control. People like, you got private equities like BlackRock that are controlling all these corporations, and they are making money by just pushing paper. Okay? So they are making this policy from that is how Davos becomes so influential. And then what happens is, that's why Epstein go to Davos. Okay? That's why you go to Davos to get wine and dine, and everybody from their, mother and their, great grandson will go to Davos on a private jet. Okay? This is how they control the money supply into the various industries, and they put all this regulation. There comes the guy the last guy they want to see, he's bringing in a hammer and just knocking down every one of it. That's why Trump is so hated.
So now, I want to tell our Malaysian friends, so now since, shall I say your president? President Trump has basically questioned the usefulness of United Nations and all that.
Yeah.
So get a pointer from that. Get some advice from that. That's a good point that he has made. Why are we so hung up on this international organizations like United Nations when they're not functioning, they're not performing,
They're not performing.
they're not helping us. So just we can be members of all these agencies and world organizations because we want to be part of the society of nations, but you have to use your own common sense, and you have to put the interests of your own country and your own people first, instead of following other people's rules and regulations and waiting to see what other people want you to do. This is what Trump has put across.
Yes, absolutely.
Because in his closing speech, when he used the word fight three times, he said, "I made."
That was exactly what he said when he got shot.
Yeah, exactly. The famous fight. He said, fight, and the only time he used the word freedom, he said, defend your freedom. And fight for your freedom. He's telling all the countries in the world, all nations and all the leaders who came to listen to him, he said, fight for your freedom. He didn't say that
follow democracy.
He didn't say that if you don't come to democracy will come to you. Remember the B-52, the picture of the B-52 dropping bombs? He didn't say that. He told the people, the world, the society of nations, to fight for your freedom. So now we in Malaysia, we have the clue. We have been given the clue. We have to fight for our freedom. We have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, we have to actually chart our own path.
Do what is good for us.
Yes, and not just be a copycat of don't just be monkeys to what the Europeans are telling us this is the right way.
I've seen it so many years. I've seen it administration after administration, new government after new government. They hire a whole bunch of consultants. It's usually Boston or McKinsey or one of these guys. Sorry, am I not supposed to say that? Pay millions, right? And then the new plan comes out, and then it's the same.
No. Can I say something?
Yeah.
I've dealt with this because when I was in Shell, we had they call us we had such great system when I was there. In about, I think in the late 90s, because before, about 2-3 years before I left Shell, I was doing one of the team doing the re-engineering. And they hired all these outside company like that, I don't want to name names, okay, but, those big name fellas, right? Yeah. Okay? And basically, they destroyed the culture of what was actually built over 200 years successfully, Because, and all they did was, they come and talk to us, okay? And then we tell them, and then they put everything into their PowerPoint, and then they go and tell our management.
And then they charge you a few million.
And then they charge you a few million.
Yeah.
The hell, man?
And it costs us, It costs us money.
A lot.
Yeah.
It costs us opportunities. When this...
I think anybody who hire Boston Consulting, McKinsey, you guys are bloody idiots. Go ahead.
Recycling. Recycling has got a kickoff date. It goes back, I don't know, maybe by now, over 25 years, 30 years. and there was a song. They used to play a jingle in the TV.
Reuse, reduce, recycle.
Recycle, something like that. And then recycling got off to a start of aluminium, glass, plastics, and whatever. And then we found out that certain metal recyclings we were not allowed to recycle, because being a third world nation, we did not have the technology to control the toxic, to get rid of the toxic waste that come out of these recycling businesses, metal recycling. So they try to put a cap on third world countries like us in developing our recycling industry. Because at that time I was a banker, and one of my clients was in the recycling business, and they said they had these kind of restrictions, basically in terms of technology. The Western people would not sell the recycling technology, but these things all are ridiculous. It doesn't last more than until the next fella in Taiwan invents the furnace that can do the recycling, using half the amount of energy and things like that at half the cost. So within a few years, that thing went out the window. Now we got recycling all over the world. You see, but these are the things they use to safeguard their own interests first.
Dude, do you remember how fervent the opposition against what was that, the rare earth
Linus
rare earth factory that 20 years ago?
Yeah. It's running, still running.
Today, nobody is talking, but everybody wants to build one.
What's the guy's name? I know him.
Yeah.
The guy who...
Fuzia.
No, the Chinese guy who lay down on the road.
Yeah. All right.
I know.
Today, everybody talk about, we need to, we need to refine rare earth.
Yeah.
Look at, we never learn from history.
There's this culture of the lack of independent thought, laziness, right? We don't think, and I think it's because we are okay. And tell me if I'm off the mark here, right? It's because for many Malaysians, we have a culture of acquiescence, right? Because of our cultures, because of our faiths, because of our the Asian way of life, we're not meant to question. We're not meant to speak up. We're meant to follow what the elders say. We're supposed to follow the rules of our faith. Supposed to dress a certain way, eat a certain way, go out with only this race. Conform. So when we grow up and to become adults and into the working life, we don't have independent thought because we have been bereft of it for 20 over years, right?
No, but there's also another part actually with this. In a society, the leaders of a society, your 1% or your less than 5% are supposed to be the thought leaders and actually the movers of society. The problem that we face in terms of our culture is that all they do is they ape they just aping what is the fad today.
Yeah, because it's convenient.
Instead of understanding, of having critical thought of what is exactly going on.
Because it's popular and it's convenient.
So Donald Trump is breaking some of these
I don't call it some, bro. I think he's breaking probably about 90% of...
He's going with a sledgehammer.
Mm-hmm.
He's breaking all these stereotypes and breaking the mold.
Yep.
And basically, I think, if you ask me, what I get from Donald Trump is that you start thinking on your own, start moving on your own.
Why do you think? Can we close on this?
Yeah.
At this stage, right? I just want to ask your opinion. I have mine. I've settled it. I think Chuang has got his. We see what he's doing. What Trump is doing is basically not just bringing the house down, but re-establishing a new order of things. I call it actually what I would call to me as a restructuring of a Chapter 11 company, the United States, and actually with that as well, the global political and economic situation. But then, which I think is a good thing. Then the question I have to you is this: why can't other people see this, and why do they hate him so much? That's my question as a closer for today.
Well, a lot of people really don't know, because I've asked them. Remember when he first became Trump 1.0? All these late night talk shows and all this the Tonight shows and all that. They were making fun of Trump, but granted lah, he did call Kim Jong Un the Rocket Man, remember?
Yeah.
So they said he was going to create Third World War and start shooting missiles at North Korea. So they went on and on about this for months, The guy called Trevor Noah,
Yeah.
he kept going on and on. Trump was going to create Third World War by shooting missiles against the Rocket Man, Kim Jong-un. And then he went to Panmunjom and crossed the border into North Korea, and shook hands. They were buddies and all that. So that went out the window. I asked a friend of mine who is a managing editor until today of our number one online English newspaper.
Okay. Let's not name that. Okay. Go on.
So he was going on and on complaining about Trump 1.0. So I asked him, "Hey bro, what has he done? What is it that wrong that he has done? That you think he's this kind of a screwed up guy?" Then he go like, "Yeah, I can't think of any." He actually said that.
You know what?
So why do you dislike him so much? He couldn't answer. So the same question I asked people today.
Right.
He actually has had a hand in those 7 conflicts that he put an end to it, including India, Pakistan.
Nobody is giving him credit.
India is totally pissed that he claimed that he caused a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, but the Pakistanis did call Trump. Okay, maybe India didn't call Trump, but the Pakistanis called. That's what I gather. Okay, so from there he got the Rubio fellas and all that to communicate with the Indians. Long story short, the ceasefire happened lah. Okay, but the Indians saying Trump had no hand and stuff like that. But he did do that, you see. So what is there to dislike about Trump if he was involved in any way? He was involved in bringing about the ceasefire between India and Pakistan, or the conflict for 12 days between Iran and Israel. He had a hand in that.
Yes.
Too. He had a hand in Congo and Rwanda, because that signing ceremony was televised, which nobody cares. Who cares about Congo and Rwanda?
Yeah, and people are dying.
So why? Okay, what is it that you dislike? Let's take the 7 conflicts or wars or hostilities that he says he has a hand in bringing an end to it. What about that
you don't like?
That you don't like? Tell me. He's lying?
On that note,
I used to work in the mainstream media, lah. I confess, right? And we talk about the mainstream media, right? There's a laziness of thought there.
Again.
The reporters, they don't like it. They don't like
they
Trump. But then I don't understand what they don't like about Trump.
Yeah, what has he done?
No, the thing is, I think I'll if you don't mind, I'll conclude in this way. The mainstream media is very much getting our mainstream media gets from the mainstream media, which is very much a left-leaning and pro-democrat institutions. Okay, we all know that.
They don't like his hair.
Okay, on that note,
Syed, that was fantastic. Peace will be the subject of our next conversation, actually.
Right.
Okay,
yeah, sure.
Right.
So we unpack so much. So let's talk about what's gonna. I think the Trump peace plan for Israel,
Palestine.
Palestine. That's gonna be interesting. The next week or so.
Yeah.
So I think we'll take it up in the next podcast next week.
Yeah, I think we'll do that. Yeah.
By that time, we should have some clarity.
Yeah.
I have some prognostication, but we'll leave it at that.
We always have some
much,
prognostications. Thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure having you around, buddy.
Thank you.
Share, like,
Thank
subscribe.
you. Share, like, and subscribe. Don't let YouTube censor us.